Imagine this, a single philosophical vision, literally laying the blueprint for an entire country. Think about the power of ideas, how they can inspire movements so profound they actually reshape maps, reshape destinies. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Allama Iqbal. He's widely seen as the ideological architect of Pakistan. We want to uncover just how that happened.
Exactly. And our mission here in this deep dive is really to explore how Iqbal's unique mixed poetry, philosophy, political thought, how it all came together. It didn't just awaken a community. It genuinely envisioned an independent homeland. We'll look at how he grappled with these massive questions: identity, society, the role of religion in governance.
Yeah, and all shaped by really complex historical times.
That absolutely.
We've pulled together quite a collection for this: articles, academic papers, historical analyses to really get into Iqbal's legacy. And what strikes you right away, I think, is that his path, his thinking, it wasn't some straight line, was it? It evolved a lot.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And to really get that evolution, we have to set the stage first, historically. We're talking about the Indian subcontinent under British rule, a period of huge upheaval. This followed centuries of different empires and, maybe most importantly, the big impact of the 1857 War of Independence. And in that context, the Hindu-Muslim question became, a central issue in 20th century British India. For Muslims, this wasn't just about, community relations. It went deeper. It was about their distinct culture, their civilization, their heritage, and crucially, their future rights.
Right. Our sources really point to this growing feeling among Muslims that they weren't just a minority group, they felt they were a distinct nation. And certain events really fanned those flames, didn't they? Like the Urdu-Hindi controversy back in 1867, which became this cultural and political flashpoint over language, signaling deeper divisions. And then you had Hindu revivalism, which made many Muslims suspicious about whether the Indian National Congress was truly secular, if it could really represent their interests.
Yeah, a feeling of being sidelined, perhaps.
Exactly. But this sense of a distinct identity didn't just pop up overnight. There were earlier efforts to build a stronger Muslim political voice. You see figures like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan.
Right, with the Aligarh movement.
Yeah, his push for education, trying to modernize and empower Muslims. And that path eventually led to the All India Muslim League in 1906, created specifically to represent and protect Muslim interests, often standing in contrast to the Congress Party.
And into this whole complex picture steps Allama Iqbal, a truly exceptional figure for his time. Poet, philosopher, politician, just embodying immense wisdom, spiritual depth, high moral standards. His political thinking, as our sources really lay out, went through this fascinating evolution. You can kind of see in three main phases.
Okay.
So before 1905, his focus was much more on, let's say, Indian nationality, unity. You see that in early poems like Tarana Hindi, talking about overcoming differences, almost this pan-Indian idea. But then, between 1905 and 1908, he's in Europe for higher studies, England, Germany. And his views really start to crystallize, sharpen. He admired Western innovation, sure, the quest for knowledge, but he became very critical of its materialism, its capitalism.
Oh, okay.
He started emphasizing the spiritual side of life as, indispensable.
And the third phase.
After 1908, when he returns to India, now his focus shifts almost exclusively to Muslims. He hammers home the centrality of Islam, the oneness of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad as the ideal leader. For Iqbal, the key to Muslim recovery, to regaining their, let's say, lost glory, was a return to Islamic principles. That was the path forward.
And this connects directly to his poetry, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just beautiful verse. It had a purpose.
No, absolutely. It was a tool, a powerful one, meant to awaken Muslims, to instill that fierce self-confidence, this concept of Khudi. Exactly. He wanted them to break free from chains of slavery, both mental and physical, to actively shape their own future. His poems stress selfhood, love, action. These were vital for revival. He genuinely felt Muslims had a special purpose.
So this thinking, this drive, it leads somewhere very specific.
It leads straight to December 30th, 1930, the All India Muslim League's annual meeting in Allahabad. Iqbal delivers his presidential address. And that speech, it becomes an absolute milestone, really lays the groundwork for an independent Muslim state.
The Allahabad address. Okay, so what was the core proposal? What did he actually suggest?
He laid out a vision for amalgamating Punjab, the northwest frontier province, Sindh, and Baluchistan to form a single consolidated Muslim majority state.
Wow.
And he proposed this as a self-governing entity, maybe within the British Empire, maybe completely outside it. He left that open. But essentially, he drew the first clear ideological map for what would become Pakistan.
Okay, so what was the justification? How did he argue for this separate entity? What was the reasoning based on culture, history, Islam itself?
Well, his argument was pretty fundamental. He maintained that Muslims in British India had a distinct culture, history, and civilization, fundamentally different from Hindus. And Islam, he argued, wasn't like other religions in this respect. It provided a unified social, political, and legal identity.
So not just faith, but a whole way of life.
Exactly. He completely rejected the European idea of separating religion and state.
Hmm.
For him, Islam was a comprehensive ethical order, a socio-political structure, a legal framework, all-encompassing. He basically said Muslims couldn't and shouldn't submerge their religious individuality into some broader, pluralistic Indian identity.
That's a powerful stance. So this address, you said it was a milestone, but how was it received right then and there? Was it instantly embraced?
Not quite instantly, no. Our sources suggest it caused what was described as a mild flutter.
A mild flutter, okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't immediately taken up as the serious plan by everyone. But its long-term impact was immense. It really did serve as the core inspiration, the guiding light for the Pakistan movement later on. Set the intellectual stage, you could say.
So beyond the political map, Iqbal was also laying down some deep philosophical foundations. You mentioned Kuti earlier. Selfhood.
Yes, central to everything for him, this idea that every person has this inherent creative self, an inner power, capable of understanding and even controlling nature, and definitely capable of shaping their own destiny. It's about realizing your true potential, your true identity.
And this Kuti, the selfhood, doesn't just happen in a vacuum, does it? What was his view on the individual versus society?
Crucial point. He saw them as inseparable, a reciprocal relationship. An individual can only achieve their full potential, their full Kuti, within a supportive community, within society. He put it beautifully in an Urdu couplet,
Which says,
roughly translated, Fard queen rabti milat se hai tanha kuch nahin. An individual exists through connection with a community. Alone, they are nothing.
Mao the darya mein aur biruni darya kuch nahin.
Exactly. A wave is in the river, and outside the river, it is nothing.
That's a really powerful image, isn't it? It drives home that our individual purpose, our Kuti, it finds its meaning, its expression, when connected to something larger.
Precisely. Like our personal mission gets amplified by the collective.
Yeah.
Iqbal even saw humanity as co-workers of God on earth, almost like co-creators,
Yeah.
empowered to shape the world and realize their full, efficient self, as he put it, within a just society. And from his reading of Islam, its very purpose is to establish a peaceful society where individuals can develop that potential and contribute.
Now, one thing that really stands out in his philosophy is his strong critique of Western-style nationalism. He saw it as a problem.
A huge problem, yes. He viewed it as fundamentally flawed because it was based on territory or race or language, things he felt inevitably led to division and conflict between people.
And clashed with Islamic principles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it separates religion from the state, and crucially, it demands supreme loyalty to the nation-state, potentially above loyalty to God. For Iqbal, since Islam was a complete way of life, any ideology that tried to box it into just the private sphere was deeply problematic.
He had some very strong words for it, too, didn't he? There's a famous line.
Yes, incredibly powerful. In Taza Kudan, Main Bada Subse Watan Hai.
Country is the biggest among these new gods.
Jo Pehan is Kahai, Wo Mazab Ka Pafanhai.
What's its shirt is the shroud of religion. Wow, that's stark, a complete rejection of putting the nation above faith.
It really is. And in contrast to that narrow territorial nationalism, Iqbal championed the concept of the Ummah.
The global Muslim community?
Exactly. He believed the real unity for Muslims across all their diverse social, linguistic, ethnic backgrounds. That unity should come from their shared religious and political idea, the Ummah, not from lines on a map. That shared religious identity for him was the true source of Muslim solidarity and strength.
It's interesting, other thinkers like Said Nursi also wrestled with nationalism, trying to find positive forms.
True, there were nuances in how different thinkers approached it, but Iqbal remained pretty firm in rejecting the Western secular model as fundamentally incompatible with his understanding of Islam's comprehensive nature.
Okay, so all this philosophical work, this poetry, this political thinking, it then leads us directly to his connection with Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Quaid-e-Azam. How did Iqbal influence him?
Profoundly. Iqbal saw Jinnah as the one, the true leader of Muslims. He wrote a series of really important letters to Jinnah between May 1936 and November 1937. In these letters, He repeatedly urged Jinnah about the absolute necessity of a separate Muslim state.
A state where Sharia could be implemented.
Yes, where Islamic law could be properly enforced and allowed to evolve according to modern needs. Iqbal was convinced Jinnah was the only leader capable of actually achieving this independent homeland.
And Jinnah himself had quite a journey, didn't he? Starting as an ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity.
He did, a remarkable evolution.
What were the key turning points? You hear about the Nehru Report.
The Nehru Report of 1928 was definitely a major factor. By proposing a unitary state and rejecting separate electorates for Muslims, it effectively ignored key Muslim demands for constitutional safeguards.
Felt like a rejection.
It did. And that, combined with a growing sense of Hindu extremism in parts of the political landscape, really disillusioned Jinnah. It led him away from unity and towards fully embracing the two-nation theory.
The idea that Hindus and Muslims were fundamentally distinct nations.
Right. Jinnah famously said something like, Pakistan was created the day the first Indian national entered the fold of Islam, emphasizing that deep historical distinction.
So Iqbal sadly passes away in 1938, 9 years before Pakistan is actually created in 1947. What does this all mean for his lasting legacy, then?
It means his ideas, his philosophy, his poetry. They did the essential groundwork. They profoundly prepared the intellectual and emotional ground for the freedom struggle. Jinnah then took up that vision, championed it, and provided the crucial political leadership to bring Pakistan into existence.
So Iqbal provided the blueprint, Jinnah built the house.
That's one way to put it, yes.
Yes.
Iqbal provided the ideological and spiritual blueprint.
Yeah.
And his vision, his struggle, it continues to be invoked as a guide for Pakistan, emphasizing that distinct identity and Islamic culture.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it's just undeniable, isn't it? Iqbal's philosophical insights, his poetic calls to action, they were absolutely central to Pakistan's ideological foundations.
Absolutely. Thought married to action, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
And his vision, as we've explored, it wasn't just about geography. It was about founding a state on Islamic principles, justice, equality, fairness. It was fundamentally about preserving Muslim identity and dignity, which he felt were under threat.
And perhaps Iqbal's legacy leaves us, and maybe you listening, with a lingering question. How do nations that are born from such powerful ideological visions, how do they continue to adapt? How do they evolve those founding principles to integrate diversity, to face new challenges, to achieve real progress in a world that changes so fast?
That's a crucial question.
It really is. Yeah. And it's a question that resonates far beyond the borders of any one nation, I think, something to really mull over.